Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar, where this afternoon we're going to talk about simplifying the upgrade process to Dynamics GP 2015. As most of you probably will know by now, 2015 came out just at the end of last year, and so it's been out about 6 weeks now. And this afternoon session, what we're going to do is go through the processes which Nolan Business Solutions goes through in upgrading our clients to Dynamics GP 2015. Some of the things I'll be talking about you can use internally, also for your own upgrades, or just basically as part of the upgrade process and good housekeeping process going forward from an upgrade or prior to an upgrade. So there's a number of slides we'll go through. This will go through the process of things we do. But before we do that, I just wanted to talk about our spreadsheet that we go through to do that. So the reason why we created the spreadsheet in the first place is that we believe with an upgrade, it's all in the preparation. And you'll see on the screen a number of quotes by people about preparation, that by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. If you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll first spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. That's the process, that's the feeling that Nolan's takes in the upgrade. That by spending enough time making sure that everything's in place, that we've got the right hardware, the right software, the right processes in place, the actual upgrade itself becomes an easier process. And at the bottom there, the more prepared you are, the less pressure you feel. And that's the whole goal, that the upgrade is not a pressurized event. It's something which we can just slip seamlessly from one version of Dynamics GP to another. So, talking about it's all in the planning, there's the main parts of the system, of the upgrade that we need to plan. So we've transferred those into a spreadsheet, and here's the Nolan's upgrade ordered spreadsheet. So right at the very beginning of an upgrade, someone from Nolan's will talk to you, either come up and see you, maybe do this over the phone, do it from knowledge that we have of your system, and work through this spreadsheet, making sure that we've captured all the relevant information. So these are details like the timescales, when upgrades have to go through, when people are available, what your year end is, do you need it done before year end, is it a mid-month process, how we do all of that. We also capture things to do with your hardware. So your current hardware, your collation that you use, which is really important, the number of users that you've got, and what versions that you have currently on the system. We also look at your clients. Those are the machines that the users log into, and we upgrade it on those clients. We look at your SQL database. Not only do we look at the databases you've got, we work out what needs to be deleted, what needs to be upgraded, the sizes of the databases. All of this is also information for us to be able to work out how long an upgrade might take. So some upgrades, just a couple of companies, some a large number of companies, but each one we can plan based on this information as to the timings of the upgrades. That's sort of the technical side of the upgrade, and then we look at some of the software elements. So what customizations do you have on your system at the moment? What modified forms and reports have been written? And as you can see in our example here, we've got UK, US, and Canadian what differences within the modified forms of reports. All those are important because as we upgrade, we need to make sure we capture each area. We also look at your FRX or your reporting, your current reporting, and what needs to happen moving that across. And I'll touch on that a little bit later on as we talk about reports. Integrations. If you're using Integration Manager, what integrations you have. Any third-party products that you might be using. And then any other information that's important. Things like whether we need to update email addresses on customers and suppliers. It might be that you have a particular bit of third-party software, customized software that relates just to your company that we need to make sure is okay. Any additional work that would need to be done, things like changing bank formats, recreating remittances, setting up templates, etc. So you see a very comprehensive planning spreadsheet here that your Nolan account manager or consultant will go through with you even before we start on an upgrade, just to make sure we have all these information. So let's go back to the slideshow here. So we're going to work through the hardware, the operating systems, the GP versions, and we'll talk just a couple of minutes on each one of those as we go through so you can understand those areas that we look into and what kind of information we capture and what we do with that information to simplify the process of your upgrade. So with hardware specifications, Microsoft published a hardware requirements specification. We have that in our spreadsheet and we have that also in PDF to send to you. The general rule, don't economize on the hardware. If the specification says you need 6 gigabytes of RAM, think about putting 8 gigabytes of RAM or more in there. It's better to overspec your machine than underspec it. If you underspec it, we're always going to be coming up with speed or problems with the access. We're overspecking. Future-proof you also could be able to add on extra modules and extra processors in the future. What we also do is we think about if currently you've got your hardware on your own site and that hardware is getting a bit old and you're going to have to replace it, what are the costs in considering hosting providers to host that hardware for you? In fact, it's their hardware that just hosts your Dynamics GP. And in some instances, the costs of the hosting might prove economical as opposed to purchasing and deploying hardware on your own site. Obviously, we take into account what business you're in and what your individual requirements are. But just to note, considering hosting providers. Also consider thin client installs. Some of the older clients with older versions of GP have a GP client on every single user's machine. That's got an overhead when we do the upgrade and an overhead on deploying the system later, and that you've got to go around to each client's machine to do the upgrade. So think about a thin client install. And what I mean by a thin client is that you have a server sitting in your server room or with your hosting provider that has one copy of Dynamics on it, and all the users log into that one client to access GP. The benefits of that is that you only have to maintain that one client. If you make a change, you only need to change it once, and all the users get that client. I suppose the drawback is that if you need customized clients for each one of your users, you'd then have to have separate thin clients, which means it's probably better to have it on their own machines. Like I said, it's working out which one suits you best. What we've certainly found, though, and the last point on this slide, is that during upgrades, we like to have your current live environment sitting there. What we do is we take the data from that current live and we move it to an interim server for the upgrade. That gives us an opportunity to move it through different versions, which we'll talk about just now, and then we have a new live server. So when the users log into their live system for the first time, they're logging into a new server. That means that we can run the current live, the old version, and the new live on a new server together, side by side. It helps with trading, it helps with testing, and it certainly helps on the go live process. As far as operating systems goes, the main points to note are the following are no longer supported with Microsoft Dynamics GP. So we have to look at all the hardware that you're using with your current version of Dynamics, and if you've got any of these kind of machines, those will have to be replaced. So any XP clients that you've got there, Dynamics GP 2015 won't run on that. Windows Server 2003, that's no longer supported. Windows Vista, Microsoft Office 2007, and down at the bottom, Microsoft SQL Server 2008, all editions are no longer supported. So we need to look at the newer versions of Dynamics. I'm just going to go across to a PDF that I've got here. And we talk here about the client requirements. So we're talking really Microsoft Windows 7, Microsoft Windows 8 as the bottom range for clients, which will do 32-bit and 64-bit. As far as the server is concerned, if I scroll down to the server requirements, we're talking about Microsoft SQL Server 2012 or 2014, running on Microsoft Windows Server 2012, Microsoft Windows Server 2008 R2, or Microsoft Windows Server 2008 Standard. So those are the baseline operating systems that we're going to need when you upgrade to Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015. So moving on, we look at the Dynamics GP version you're on, and we need to move you through various versions of Dynamics to get you to Dynamics GP 2015. So as you're watching this webinar, you'll know what version of GP you're on. You could be on GP 8, 9, 10, GP 2010 or 2013. And we have an upgrade path. So if you're on GP 9, we have to take you from GP 9 to GP 10. That's typically GP 10 Service Pack 5. From that version of GP 10, once you've done that upgrade, we can either take you to 2010 SP4 or 2013 SP2, and from there up to GP 2015. So a GP 9 upgrade will need 2 interim steps before we get to your GP 2015 GP 2015 system at the end. You'll see through that table, obviously, if you're on 2013 now, it's one step up to 2015. Okay, I've written on the slide, consider small steps. What I'm meaning there is that some users could maybe be on GP 10 Service Pack 4. What we might recommend is, as a separate exercise outside of the upgrade, that we do a Service Pack upgrade for you to bring you up to GP 10 Service Pack 5. That's something that's relatively easy to do. It has very little impact on the users, but it cuts out one step of the upgrade. So it means when we do come to the big upgrade, it's one less thing we have to do. So we obviously look, as we're planning the upgrade, as to what small steps we can do that have minimal effect on the users, but will mean there's less to do for the actual upgrade when we get there, hence simplifying the whole process. Okay, so with the hardware and the upgrade path in place, we've got to look at what is it that we're actually upgrading. With third-party software, I'm sure most sites will have some part of third-party, some piece of third-party software on their system. And what we do is we look carefully at what you're using, bearing in mind that it's possibly now in standard functionality. So if you're using a bit of software that we know is part of the standard system now, we can advise you of that, and we don't need to upgrade that third-party software. What we also do is we look at what new functionalities on offer, both in GP and in third-party software, from third-party software providers, so that if you are upgrading a particular module, we can also talk to you about what extra you're getting with the upgrade of that third-party module, or in some cases, what's changed in that third-party module that you might be relying on. We also then make sure that there's an upgrade path for that third-party software, and that you can get the registration keys for the 2015 version. So with 2015 being relatively new out to market, it's important to make sure that all those third-party vendors have their software ready, tested in your timescale. Sorry. Okay, we look at the clients that you've got, and I've spoken already about terminal services or Citrix clients. That's the sort of the name that we put to those clients that I spoke about earlier. So we look to see if there's a possibility of standardizing using those kind of clients. But also, if you're using a client on people's own machines, can we standardize on those client locations and the customizations inside those? What I mean by that is that we've found with some sites that different people might set up great planes on people's machines. And one person might do it one way, some person might do it another, which ends up a little bit of a logistic problem if you want to make one change that goes across the whole company. So by making sure that each machine is set up the same, the client is in the same folder on each machine, that the customizations, that's modified forms and reports, are all pointing to a standard location. It just makes it the whole maintenance and the upgrade process a lot easier. And what we also do at that point is introduce a deployment policy for new client machines. So if we've set it all up with a standard setup, that when you do put in new client machines at a later date, that they're deployed in exactly the same way as the existing clients. We look at what integrations you use and remove those that are no longer required. Again, we come across a number of instances where various people in the organization that may no longer be there have created integrations. No one knows what they're there for, no one knows what they do. But let's take a look at those and see if they are needed and whether we should remove them. It helps on the upgrade process. We're not upgrading something that's no longer required, but it also helps going forward to tidy up your system. Also, by centralizing the integration manager definitions, it means that everybody's working off one central integration manager setup rather than each one having a separate one. So if you make a change, that change only affects you, and if you try and integrate that using a different machine, you might have lost your integration manager definitions. We can also take a look at other integration methods that may save you time. So it might be that integration manager did a job for you in the past, but actually there's different integrations now available that you can schedule, that you can set up, so that it's easier for you to use those. The same really goes for the reporting. We look at what reports you use. So specifically, if we're going from GP 2010 up to 2013, up to 2015, if you're using FRX, what reports do you use, which can be removed, that don't need to go across. With GP 2013, Microsoft stopped FRX and introduced Management Reporter. So part of the upgrade, if you go to 2015, if you're going from a 2010 version, is that we're going to need to move your FRX reports to Management Reporter. So it's a good time to think about those reports. Maybe also to reorder the report definitions, think about naming conventions, and you probably know in your own organizations the reports I'm talking about, ones that have strange names that no one knows what they're about. If they're still good, let's rename them. If they're no good, let's get rid of them. Again, let's look at other reporting methods that may save you time. If you've had your Dynamics GP for some time, it might be that in those days reporting directly to Excel wasn't available. And now in the newer versions, you have your Excel report writer, you've got SSRS, and you've got other third-party products such as Spindle, which you can use, Sharperlight, which you can use to get those reports out. So take a look at other reporting methods that may save you time. And finally, on reports, if you've got GP modified reports, what we've found also with older versions is that in some cases the old report has been superseded by a standard out-of-the-box report, and in some cases it's better than what you have in the older version. So we can do away with the modified report and just set you up on the standard version going forward. Okay, so the method we generally use is that we'll create a test platform, and we'll do a test upgrade. And that process creates for you a whole test system, and we take your data at a certain point in time, and that test system is what we can use to be able to train your users on. So what do we do in the training? You've obviously got the what's new training to be able to identify what has changed between your old version and the current version. What we also find is by using that training to take advantage to retrain users that may have had no formal training before, we can get people to engage or re-engage with Great Plains. Quite often we'll go into a company and people will tell us that they've been working there for 3 years and they haven't had any formal training. So this is a good time with the new version to be able to engage on that as well. What we also do is we use the training as preparation for the users to do their own user acceptance testing. So as soon as we can after the training, we can set those users to be able to do their user acceptance testing. That means that the training sticks in their head because they're immediately on the system and using it, and it sinks in. The last part of the training is preparing the users for change. We're aware at Nolan's that change management is important, and with any change inside your organization, it's important to get your users on side, get them prepared for it, know what to expect, and that way the whole change becomes easier. So by going through the training cycle, getting them to participate in the user acceptance testing prepares them for that change. They know what's coming and no need to be frightened of it. So we talk about the user acceptance testing. We encourage people to duplicate all of the processes that they do daily, weekly, monthly. They don't obviously have to put in all the invoices or do all the payment runs. It's not a parallel test that we're talking about here. but there is a case to duplicate all the processes, just to go through it for themselves, make sure that they're happy that it's performing in the way that they were expected to. Generally, our rule is that if we don't hear of any issues coming out of user acceptance testing, we assume that you haven't done any, so we'll be chasing you about that. But an issue log is set up so that we can address any issues that we go along that come out of that process. We encourage the users to make sure they're familiar with any new features that could change their processes, so that they're prepared for that change in their process. And make sure that it's not only entering data, it's posting batches, running reports, running integrations, checking invoice layouts, statements, remittances, everything that's really key and important to the company that you're going to be doing on the live system. Make sure on user acceptance testing that's done. And then the go live. Important thing on the go live is to check the calendar, and it's everyone who needs to be there available. So it's everybody, all the key stakeholders in the process should be available at go live to make sure for a comfortable, stress-free process to go through. Because we've done the test upgrade, because we've done the training, and we've set up the clients for the clients to do their user acceptance testing, and they've done their user acceptance testing, the actual go live may be a data-only upgrade event. Because we've already set up the clients, because we've already set up the server, we've already done the modified forms and reports, the actual go live should be purely taking the old databases and transitioning them through the upgrade process onto the new server and the new environment. That itself can take some time, but it declutters the process and takes a lot of the risk out of the upgrade process by doing it in that way. With UAT and with the go live, we draw up an issues log. It's important to log everything and address those items in a methodical fashion, so nothing gets forgotten or tripped over or duplicated. We don't want to be duplicating effort in addressing issues that might have been addressed by somebody else. And time set aside to handhold the users through their first time on critical processes to make sure all those go through smoothly. Okay, so I've spoken for about just under half an hour about the processes that we put in place to simplify the upgrade process to Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015. Please, if you've got any questions, please address them to us and we'll be happy to answer them, maybe go into more detail. If you're thinking about an upgrade, again, please talk to us and we can talk to you even more about that process of that audit, making sure we've captured all the information and we can start planning that process to make it as simple and as pain-free as possible for you. So thank you for your time this afternoon, and please, like I say, if you've got any questions, please let us know. Please email the office. There'll be someone that can deal with them here. I'll also wait for a little while, just watching the questions that come in. So if there's any I can answer straight away, I'll do those now. But otherwise, I'll answer them later as they can come in. So thank you again for your time this afternoon. Bye-bye.